everybody. Drew Campbell here from GPNI/ISSN, broadcasting our very first English language endurance and marathon nutrition coach. So endurance and marathon nutrition coach from our workshop and certification series, Sports Nutrition Coach. So I'm very proud to have Dr. Roger, who's been working with us for many years and who already has over 20 years of his own experience in sports nutrition, performance nutrition, and more specifically, marathon endurance-based nutrition. He has run marathons himself. He has competed in Sparta, the outdoor marathon race as well as obviously done a lot of research in this area as well. So we're very proud to have Dr. Roger talking and giving this presentation. Today is an introduction, so it'll only go for about 1 hour, and the actual full course will be starting on February 28th, which I'll allow Dr. Roger to explain a little bit more about that. So again, this is an English language only. As you already probably know, we broadcast online now, thanks to COVID-19, everything, and we are in English language, Chinese Mandarin, Chinese Cantonese, Korean, and a little bit later this year, Japanese language also. So if you are watching this video and you would like to participate in any of our courses in your local language, please get in contact with us. You can look down the bottom of this YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram video, or you can simply email info@thethegpni. That's info@thethegpni.com. Okay, so we will be beginning very shortly, and I would like to bring on Dr. Roger onto the screen with me. Welcome, Dr. Roger, all the way from Oklahoma City.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Adams. Yes, I'm from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, United States of America, right in the center of the U.S., and I'm really happy to be a part of this. This is our very first offering of the Performance Nutrition Series. This is the Endurance, Exercise, and Sport class, and this is the introductory course. So what it's going to do is we're going to just talk for about an hour. Going to give you just a little bit of taste of what it's like to get prepared for endurance sports. So things like marathons, endurance cycling events, some of those Sparta or some of those really crazy endurance mud runs that are getting really popular all over the world. So we're going to talk about some of the pre-nutrition, pre-event nutrition, what to do during some of the events are so long you have to eat during that, and of course what you have to do afterwards. So we're going to talk about the whole thing, but we're going to just give you a little bit of taste today, and then the whole course itself we're looking at maybe 15 to 18 hours that you're going to be able to download and watch on your own time, and it's going to have a workshop, and we'll get into all of that. So I'm really excited for you to join me on today's introduction. So let's get into the introduction.
It's coming, mate.
Okay. And as I said, this is our very first offering of the Sport Nutrition Coach, the Endurance, Exercise, and Sport. We're going to have other ones later on in the years to come and later on this year, but today we're going to start with the Sport Nutrition Coach. So what we'll talk about today over the next hour or so, we'll give you the whole full course outline so that you'll really understand what you're signing up for, what to expect, and really how robust this course is. It's going to be a lot different than a lot of other competitors and a lot of other things online that you may have studied. And even if you've run your marathons yourself, this is going to be something that's really going to get you prepared for your next endurance event, or maybe if you work with athletes that are currently training, this is going to really give you a good taste of what to expect. We're going to get into a little bit today of the science and physiology, so please bear with me. Don't glaze over and think you're in a biochemistry class today. But when we do the longer course, the 15 to 18 hour course, we are really going to get deep into the science. So I really want you to put that science lab coat on and get ready to learn some good biochemistry. One of the most important things that I like to teach is the risk of endurance exercise. This sport has a lot of risks associated with it. So as a trainer, as a health professional, you need to really understand what those risks are, and you have to relay that on to your clients. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the risks, and we have an expert that had sent me some of the information who's doing a lot of research in that field that we're going to talk about today as well. And then, of course, the dietary strategies. Why we're here today, we're going to talk about how to eat both before, during, and after these endurance exercises, because it's not, you don't just show up one day and run a marathon. Well, some people do, and those people are crazy, but you have to train for it, and those training protocols are very, very long, weeks, months, even a year for some of these Ironman events. But you have to recover. So we're going to talk about some of those dietary strategies, and then at the end we're going to talk about the ISSN. The ISSN has been around for quite some time. I've been in it for many years. We're going to talk about what are some of the advantages of being in this global organization. Now, who am I? I told you I'm Dr. Roger Adams. I'm here in Oklahoma City. I've got a PhD in nutrition. I am a CISSN Certified Sports Nutritionist. That is the highest certification the ISSN offers. I'm a master instructor with the ISSN. That means that I used to travel around the world teaching ISSN courses. Now I write them, and I travel virtually around the world teaching everyone about the beauty of sports nutrition. I'm an ACE certified personal fitness trainer. I've taught adjunct nutrition, intro nutrition to pre-med and pre-nursing students for about 5 years. I have my own evidence-based nutrition and fitness counseling practice for over 22 years. I now do that virtually here in Oklahoma City. It's called Eat Right Fitness. You can visit it on the web at eatrightfitness.com, where I specialize in weight loss counseling and also sports performance nutrition. So for the full course, not today, but for the full course, there's 10 modules. There are going to be these 10 downloadable modules that we're going to go through. And you'll see on module 1, we're going to really get into the science. We're going to talk about what happens in the body when we go through endurance events. And then module 2, we'll go through basic nutrition concepts, these basic fundamental concepts of nutrition that you really need to understand before we can go any further. So some of that may be a review, some of that may be brand new to you. Module 3, we're going to talk about how fuel usage is different in endurance sport than maybe power sports like sprinting or weightlifting. Okay, so endurance sport is completely different the way the body uses fuel. So we're really going to go into that. And then module 4, we're going to go, how do we calculate what the athlete needs? How do we determine those dietary needs for the endurance athlete? How do we know what they require? What's necessary? And in module 5, we're going to spend a lot of time, even sometime today, talking about those risks. Okay, because every year, more and more athletes are dying and they're completely preventable, but more and more athletes are dying doing endurance sports. And we're going to talk about why these athletes are dying. Module 6, we're going to talk about some of the effects of current diets, some of these more trendy diets, some of this time-restricted feeding, ketogenic diets, how these kind of diets that you may have some of your current athletes on, or you may know people that are doing it, how do these diets affect endurance sport? Okay, should athletes that are doing endurance sports be on these kind of diets? And if they are, how is it going to affect their performance? And then we're going to talk about some really fundamental endurance nutrition strategies. And that's where we're going to get into some of these ISSN foundational principles. Okay, what are these strategies that are tried and true that work? Module 8, we're going to go talk about ergogenic aids. You know, what types of manipulations with the diet work, what type of supplements work, dietary supplements work, and we'll talk about what kind of supplements don't work as well. Okay, we'll talk about also some kind of risks that may incur with some kind of supplements and some kind of ergogenic aids and manipulation with the diets that people take that put them at advanced risks. For module 9, we're going to talk about some of the latest research. There's always new research coming out, especially with the ISSN, with performance, specifically with endurance performance. How can we continue to push the envelope? You know, there's always endurance athletes wanting to run a faster marathon, wanting to run a faster or perform better in a triathlon or a Ironman. Okay, where's this research leading them? Okay, so we're going to look at that research. And then module 10, we're going to spend some time talking about the homework assignment. So with any workshop, to get the credit, those coveted CECs, there's a homework assignment. Okay, and so we're going to spend some time talking about that. And that homework assignment is really important to let me know that you understand how to put together a really good program to teach your clients, to teach your athletes how to have a really robust and safe endurance program. So many people with endurance activities, they just think of marathons. Okay, well, there's a lot more than just marathons. Okay, and we're going to go through a lot of these in depth in the long course. Okay, well, for the short course today, the intro, we're just going to tell you what they are. But for the long course, we're going to talk about each one of these in depth, what the requirements are. But we all know what the marathons are. There are things called ultra marathons for the really crazy people out there. And if you're one of those crazy people, I'm not insulting you. Hats off, you know, each their own. Ultra marathons can be back-to-back marathons. It could be triple marathons. Okay, it could be 100-kilometer runs, 150-kilometer runs, 200-kilometer runs. Okay, even 24 and 48-hour runs. Okay, long distance cycling. Okay, same thing. It can be 100, 200, 300-kilometer cyclings. It can be 24 and 48-hour cycling events. Okay, it can be cycling events from one city to the next. Okay, you can just look online and see all the different events there are. Long distance swimming, same idea. Triathlons, there's the short triathlon, there's the Olympic triathlon. The short triathlon, excuse me, would be called a sprint triathlon, which is something the novice can do. Many of us have done those. The Olympic triathlon is the next level, and then there's the full Ironman triathlon. Okay, and we're going to really go into the differences in those in the full long course. Okay, and then the most popular, the one that's growing the most besides marathons, is these endurance obstacle events, what we call these mud runs, the Sparta races, the ultimate, the Tough Mudders that are very popular here in the United States, where you're not only running a marathon or many kilometers, but you're also doing obstacle events. Okay, so these require not only a knowledge of endurance nutrition, but also maybe some power nutrition. And we'll talk about some of the limitations of the diet for these kind of events. Okay, but we're going to really go into those, into the long course. Okay, so the endurance science and physiology, you know, we talk about this a lot in the long course, but today, just a little bit. Again, bear with me. It's not going to be I'm not going to have a quiz today. We're not going to do too much biochemistry today. Okay. So the effects of endurance training, how is this different than weightlifting? How is it different than just jogging down the street or doing sprints, you know, in a stadium? Okay. What happens in the body when we do continuous endurance training is we increase what's called the lactate threshold. Okay. This is the intensity level associated with the accumulation of lactate in the blood. We know that lactate, okay, that burning, okay, so when we're running and their legs start to burn and we can't run anymore. Okay, well, the more we train, the longer that burn becomes, the longer it takes that burn to get to us. That's how we're extending that lactate threshold. Okay. So the better we train endurance-wise, the longer that threshold becomes, okay? We also get an improvement in the heart, lung, and arterial system, okay? Our heart gets stronger. Our lungs get more efficient, okay? Our arteries open up more. Our capillaries actually get finer and finer, like branches in a tree. Okay, so that helps lower our risk of cardiovascular disease. People typically that are runners or that do more endurance training in moderation tend to have lower risk of cardiovascular disease. They also have a lower correlated risk of cancer, many kinds of cancer, obesity, diabetes, and osteoporosis or loss of bone. Okay. Most people, unless they stress about not getting their runs in, we all have those clients, right? We all know those people that get stressed when they miss their workout. Okay. Not talking about those people. The average person that trains for a marathon or endurance event, they have lower stress levels. Okay. Those natural, those good feel-good hormones, okay, will lower those stress levels. And they also have an increased sense of well-being. Now we get that kind of stuff from other kinds of exercise, but all of these things that increase lactic threshold, okay, that decrease risk of heart disease, decrease risk of cancer, so diabetes, osteoporosis, decrease stress levels, and increased sense of well-being. We all see those as the effects of endurance training, okay? Very positive things. Okay, now what are some of the physiological effects? Okay, now long-term endurance training will induces many physiological adaptations. Okay, so from a central standpoint, okay, we have these cardiovascular adaptations. Okay, we talked about that a little bit before. Heart gets stronger, lungs get more efficient, arteries get open up more. Okay, we get more capillaries. Okay, from a mitochondrial standpoint, we actually get more mitochondria. Okay, we'll get into it really, really deep in the long course, but we actually get more mitochondria the more in shape we get. Okay, that allows us to use more fat for fuel. Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so it's bonus. Okay, Dr. Adams gave me a little bonus here. So get more mitochondria when we get into more shape. Okay, and from a peripheral standpoint, okay, the little T's there, we get more psychological effects from the outside of our bodies. Okay, with bones, the joints stay lubricated. Okay, our joints work better. Okay, we know when we don't work out much, our joints get tight. All right, when we work out on a regular basis, we stay lubricated, we stay loose. Okay, so we get those good movements. Okay, so a lot of positive benefits there. Now, from a hormonal response, what happens? Okay, so our levels of many hormones change either directly or indirectly with the response to cardiorespiratory exercise, specifically endurance exercise, aerobic exercise. Okay, insulin levels will drop as our exercise intensity gets over 50% VO2 max. Okay. Now, if you're just walking, I'm sorry, walking's great. That's an activity. Okay, now it can be stress releasing and it's enjoyable and it burns some calories. Don't get me wrong. Okay, don't everybody go out there and say Dr. Adams said walking's no good. I'm not saying that. Okay, but walking isn't going to drastically decrease your insulin levels. Okay, you've got to get your VO2 max above 50% to really get the insulin levels to drop. Okay, now the norepinephrine and epinephrine will increase during exercise. Okay, as they increase, the cortisol levels will increase also when the prolonged exercise is submaximal. Okay, this is net effect, okay, of this hormone balance is to break down energy stores in the muscle and adipose tissue, as well as in the liver. Okay, so as our norepinephrine and epinephrine stays higher, as the cortisol levels increase, okay, this breaks down fat stores, intramuscular fat, and also liver fat so that we can use it. That's a good thing. okay, that will help us continue to run or cycle or swim. Okay, so those are good hormonal responses. Okay, so now what about energy systems? What goes on during these events in an energy system? Okay, now when you take the long course, you're going to hear me say this word over and over to the point that you're going to be sick of it. Intensity. Okay, intensity and duration. Those are the two words you will hear me say all the time. Intensity. Intensity is the primary determinant of fuel utilization during exercise because it determines what hormones that are going to be used. Like I said before, when we're just walking, we're not using the same hormones as when we're running. Okay, you have to get above that 50% VO2 max. Okay, intensity changes the fuel utilization. Okay, insulin, norepinephrine, epinephrine, and cortisol. Those are the hormones that are affected by intensity. The intensity level relative to oxygen availability is a key determinant of fuel utilization. Okay, if there's oxygen available, that's going to determine what kind of fuel we're going to use. Aerobic, anaerobic. Remember that? We're going to get really deep into that in the long course. Okay, at lower intensity walking, fatty acids are the greatest contributor to ATP generation. Stay with me. Okay, I don't want to lose you. I'm talking about ATP, don't glaze over, don't run away. Okay, little biochemistry is not going to hurt you today. Okay, so at 25 to 30% VO2 max, ATP is our greatest contributor to our energy. Okay, most of these fatty acids are in the blood already from our food. We call prandial, postprandial, what we've eaten. Okay, type 1 muscle fibers are recruited. Okay, plenty of oxygen's available. Not having any problem. It's aerobic metabolism of fatty acids. Okay, very little lactic acid is produced. Okay, we're not going to hit our lactic acid threshold walking unless we're in really bad shape. Okay, or unless you're walking for like 10 hours. All right, most of us can walk a long time and not hit our lactic acid threshold, right? Okay, so very little lactic acid is going to be produced. Okay, it does not accumulate in the blood. Okay, now we're going to go up the intensity scale. Okay, remember, intensity determines the hormones. Okay, and that's going to affect what kind of fuel we use. Okay, now we're going up 55 to 65% VO2 max. There's an increased usage of carbohydrate. Now we're switching from fatty acids to carbohydrate. Increased carbs, use of carbs and fatty acid. Now we're getting kind of a mixture. Okay, now we see people exceeding their lactic acid threshold. Now carbs are involved. You're going to meet that lactic acid threshold. Okay, indicates that there's a contribution from anaerobic carbohydrate metabolism. So not until there's anaerobic metabolism involved do we worry about that lactic acid threshold. Okay, type 1 and some type 2 muscle fibers are recruited while insulin release drops and epinephrine increases. Okay, insulin no longer in the equation as much. Epinephrine is the hormone that we're using. Okay, and what this does is this leads to an enhancement of carbohydrate utilization by the breakdown of muscle glycogen. Okay, so as this intensity gradually increases, we start breaking down more muscle glycogen. That's stored carbohydrate. Okay, we don't need insulin for that. Epinephrine increases, we continue to use that muscle glycogen. Okay, that's at that medium intensity. Okay, but we're going to start getting that lactic acid threshold down. Now, intensity, okay, at a higher intensity, 85% or higher. Use of carbohydrate is much greater than fatty acids, okay? More type 2A and some type 2B, okay? Causes carbohydrate utilization for ATP regeneration, excuse me. ATP demands of exercise far exceed oxygen availability. So you're completely in the anaerobic state right now. Remember, aerobic is when we got oxygen, okay? Okay. Anaerobic, now we don't have oxygen available, okay? So we're starting to lose some of that, okay? So we've exceeded it. Now we're hitting that threshold, okay? Now we're hitting that threshold, okay? Now a good visualization is this one. This is a really good visualization. So you see it, okay? So you see the 25%, this is our walking, 65%, this is our jogging, okay? 85%, this is our sprinter. So you see how the intensity changes the fuel utilization. For our endurance athlete, you're in that 65%, all right? For someone like me that's knees don't let them run anymore, I'm at that 25%. I'm walking between the 25 and 65. Okay, so you can see how the fuel utilization changes. And the whole reason I wanted to spend this time of this intro over this is that it's the intensity that's going to dictate what your athlete uses. So if you have a runner that is really intense, their fuel usage is different than if you have a novice that is just getting started. And we're going to really talk about that in the long course. I got someone just getting started, they're going to eat different than if I've got a college runner or a pro runner. Okay, so they may run the same sport, but they're not going to have the same diet. Okay, so duration. I've talked about intensity, talked about duration. Duration is different, okay? The longer duration events require special fueling strategies, both before and after, even during, okay? 15K and longer runs usually mean that you've got to have some sort of glycogen loading. And man, we are really going to talk about glycogen loading in the long course. That is a tried and true ergogenic aid, okay? Quick digesting carbs, things that get digested soon. That's what you got to really learn what those are. We'll talk about those. Okay, that's going to help that athlete. Okay, we're going to focus on the marathon length and the longer triathlons in the long course. Those are the ones that we're going to really focus on. Okay. Now, the most significant nutritional considerations when you're looking at marathons and triathlons come from these high energy, high carbohydrate needs, okay? Fluid requirements is the next thing. So we look at the high energy, the high carbohydrate. The next thing you have to consider is the fluids. And then recovery. Okay, how many thousands of steps is your athlete taking? Everyday training, you got to recover. Okay, so energy expenditure, the high calorie needs, could be up to 3,000, even 6,000 calories a day. Okay, so you got to really take that into consideration. Okay. And so for recovery, that athlete has to recover. So they're going to have to use foods. They're going to have to use supplements. You know, they're going to have to use different kinds of aids to get their carbs in. So a post-training meal with a carb content of greater than 2 grams per kilogram of body weight is going to help them. Okay, some athletes have no problem eating. Some athletes have to use some sort of a carbohydrate solution, like it's shown here, this refix solution. Usually they need more protein as well. So you're looking at 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kg of body weight. Okay, why protein? It doesn't give you energy? No, but there's a higher amino acid oxidation rate in these athletes due to recovery and repair needs. Okay, so you can't just get fixated on carbs with the endurance athlete. We're going to talk all about that in the long course. Okay, so recovery drinks and supplements are a key part of these kind of athletes' diets, especially with the long endurance events, the long marathons, the long triathlons. Okay, these long, intense, back-to-back training schedules. Some of these events actually have multiple days, so you're going to have to learn how to map out back-to-back days of eating and recovery, how to get carbohydrate reserves up. This can make training difficult. This can make recovery difficult. So we will talk about ways to get that up there. Some of these diets have athletes should be consuming 10 grams of carbohydrates per kg of body weight on a daily basis. Okay, so just think about how much that is. Okay, 10 grams per kg of body weight. Okay, that's quite a bit. And we'll talk about how do you put that kind of diet together. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, protein. Okay, you're looking at the average, or I'm sorry, the recommended is 0.8 grams per kilogram. Average person, endurance athlete, you're looking at double that. Okay, 1.2 to 1.8 grams per kg. Again, because there's an added need for recovery. Okay, so don't just get caught up on carbs. The endurance athlete needs more protein as well. Okay, so now this area is one of really critical importance, and one I like to talk about, especially here in the intro, is that risks are something these are climbing as the sport grows in popularity. Okay, before you start working with your athlete, your client, you need to know their background. Okay, you need to know their family history. Do they have a family history of heart disease? Do they have a family history of any kind of problems that could arise with their training? Okay, even if they are in good shape, do they have a family history of heart disease? Take a detailed family history. Probably wouldn't hurt to have them go to the doctor and get a workup, a heart check beforehand. Okay, that protects them, that protects you. Okay, don't assume anything. Even if they're in shape, get them checked out. Okay, heart disease, heart attacks can occur to even in people in shape. Find out what their family history is. Okay, now this is something that we're going to talk a lot in the long course. Briefly talk about it today, called overtraining syndrome. This can occur from any athlete, but it's a very, very common occurrence in the endurance athlete. Okay, basically it's a maladaptive response to excessive exercise without adequate rest. Okay, I'm a firm believer that you've got to have a really, really strong recovery diet and adequate rest to overcome overtraining syndrome. Okay, now there's a lot of other things involved. As you will see, we're going to really rip this picture apart in the long course. Okay, these are consequences of overtraining syndrome, and these are causes of overtraining syndrome. Okay, now we're going to really rip those two diagrams apart. Okay, there's not just one consequence, there's not just one cause, but I'm a firm believer that a really sound nutrition approach and a really sound rest approach with the right kind of sleep can help either attenuate or overcome overtraining syndrome. Okay. Now, something that's very common in athletes that perform endurance are upper respiratory illnesses. Okay, it's not uncommon for athletes that run long distances to suffer from upper respiratory infections. Okay, there's what we call a J-shaped curve, meaning that as exercise intensity increases, immune system function drops. Okay, and as immune system function drops, our infection risk increases. And with COVID-19 still sweeping the globe, the last thing we want right now is for our immune system to drop. So as you can see here, here's the J-shaped curve. The green immune function marker and the purple infection risk. So you can see as exercise infection, excuse me, as exercise intensity increases, our immune system function goes really, really low. So exercise can help to a degree, okay? But if the intensity gets too high, it drives down our immune system. And there are some things that we may be able to do to help with that. And we'll talk about that in the long course. But you have to be careful and monitor your client's exercise intensity so that you protect their immune system. Another big risk is what we call hyponatremia. This one kills a lot of athletes every year, basically known as water intoxication. Most of the amateur runners suffer from this. It's simply they drink too much water. Okay, they dilute the sodium in their body. Okay, they can get dizziness, cramping, and coma, even death. Okay, from too much fluid consumption. Thermoregulation can occur from not being used to the climate. They could lose something like 2 liters on a hot day per hour if they're in the wrong kind of a climate. The heart works really hard to acclimate. So you need to be training in the kind of environment that you're going to compete in. And sometimes that's not always possible. Okay. The more energy an athlete puts into keeping their body temperature stable, the less it's available for the muscle movement. So that can affect their endurance performance. Okay. So you need to get your athlete used to the environment they're going to train in. Okay. This is hard to do. Okay. It can take a long time. We'll talk about this in the long course. It can take sometimes up to 10 days or more to get your athlete used to the environment that they're going to train in. Okay. Now, for hydration, you can't always rely on judgment. You can't say, oh, ask your athlete, oh, are you drinking your water? Sure, coach, I'm drinking my water. That doesn't always work. Okay. A simple way to do is by urine color. Okay. Urine color will indicate whether your athlete is adequately hydrated. Okay, a lighter urine means that they're getting better hydration. There are urine charts that you can find online. A lot of gyms, a lot of coaches have them. So, you know, it's a good practice to teach your athletes to gauge their hydration by urine intake. Something happens with hydration and temperature. For example, a 1% body mass loss via sweat can increase body temperature by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, and it's not unusual to lose 3 or 4 or 5% body mass in a long distance event. And you can see how heat stroke can happen really quickly with water loss. And so here's a normal little urine color chart that you'll see in many, many gyms. And all coaches should be very familiar with these and put these in restrooms and changing rooms for their athletes to really show them that something that really, you know, an easy way to judge if you're drinking enough water. Our coaches always told us to drink enough water till your back teeth are floating and your urine's clear. Okay, so, you know, make sure your urine is clear. That's an easy way to do it. Now, this gentleman, Dr. Lee, he is an expert at hydration. Okay, so he was kind enough to donate a few slides of his current research. We're going to just briefly talk about this, and then he's going to have some more research in the long course that we're going to talk about. But he donated a little bit of information that we're going to show here about what he's currently working on. So I'm going to briefly talk about that, what he's doing. So he is a fellow at of the American College of Sports Medicine. Okay, his main research interests are in fluid balance and thermoregulation. Okay, and he studies the physiological demands associated with passive and exertional heat stress. So exactly what we're talking about. And he's delivered more than 100 invited presentations locally and internationally. And he's currently an associate professor in the Yung Lu Lin School of Medicine at the National University in Singapore. And this is training some of the research apparatuses that he used. So some of his current research, this is 2021, so it's just in press right now, showing dehydration following a marathon in the tropics. So the interesting thing when you're running in the tropics is the humidity. You don't cool off quite as much as you should. So basically his research is showing the race timing anywhere from 2.5 hours upwards to 4 hours. Basically looking at how your body mass loss, body mass changes. And again, we're going to cover this a lot more in depth in the long course. But his research is showing the differences with female and male percentage of weight loss. Okay, and you can see wide changes depending on the athlete. Not everyone is the same. Okay, these are professional runners, and everybody's losing a lot of body mass loss. It's all over the board. And this one is dehydration following races in the tropics. Again, over 2,000 subjects. Okay, all over the board. Okay, and this is anywhere from 10K up to long 100Ks, men and women, triathlons, all kinds of events here. So you have people that are losing from percent change of body mass, almost even up to 8%. And the big takeaway here is 46% of participants had some sort of body mass loss. 46%. Okay, so you have to know as a trainer, as a health expert, is your athlete is going to have some sort of body mass loss. Okay, so how can you mitigate that? How can you lessen the body mass loss? Because if they lose too much, they're going to lose performance, and they could also hurt themselves or even die. Okay, so we need to learn how to lessen the body mass loss. And as he's talking about here, one size does not fit all. There are 4 different things that really affect how we lose water. Physical fitness and heat acclimation, a mountain type of clothing worn, exercise intensity, climatic conditions. Okay, and what he's showing here, it's not one size fits all. The finishing position and the sweat rate, look, it's all over the board. It's what we call as a scatter plot. Okay, so you have people finishing from 1st to 30th, and their sweat rates are all over the board. People finishing 1st are sweating at a high intensity. People finishing 30th are sweating at a high or low intensity. Okay, it all depends on different aspects. Okay, so we can't assume anything. Okay, so we all need to know our athletes. We need to know our athletes. Okay, but he's gonna provide some more research that we're going to talk about in the long course. So I just wanted to give you a little taste of some really current, really cool research that he's doing. So some endurance nutrition strategies that we're going to dive into for the long course is of course calories. That's the main thing we talked about before. 6,000 calories a day. I myself have done calories for Ironman competitors that were 8,000 a day, every day for about 2 to 3 months. Okay, so upwards of 8,000 calories a day. So that's a lot. Do the math. That's a lot of calories. Now, carbohydrates are essential. Okay, that's our fuel. Okay, that's our main fuel. You're looking at 60% or higher of your energy intake, 5 to 8 grams per day. As I said before, maybe even 10 grams, depending on your client. Okay, could be 10. For longer races, you're looking at 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrates per hour. During those cycling and running events, we're having them consume while they're running, while they're cycling. Okay, maybe drinking water, the Gatorades or the Powerades or those glucose solutions. Okay. Now this is one of my favorite slides. Okay, showing the intensity and duration, how we use different fuel mixtures. Okay, so we'll talk about this slide a lot when we get into the long course, but this is showing the intensity and duration, how the fuel mixture changes. High intensity, mostly glucose. Low intensity, mostly fat, as we talked about earlier. Carbohydrate loading, one of the main ergogenic aids that we have. Carbohydrate loading, we know it works. We're going to really rip apart the ISSN's paper on nutrient timing, kind of how we do carbohydrate loading. The main takeaway is you have to find the right strategy that works for your athlete. And I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 different kinds of strategies to work with. And as part of the workshop, as part of the homework assignment, that's a big part of figuring out what kind of carbohydrate loading strategy to use for your athlete. Fluids, a big one to keep from getting hyponatremia and to keep from damaging yourself. You know, you're looking at every 15 to 20 minutes, the athlete should drink about 150 milliliters of fluid or so. But they should practice this while they're training. Don't wait for your athlete to start drinking fluids during the event. They should practice it while they're training so they get used to the water, okay? Get used to the fluids. But they shouldn't do too much, okay? Hyponatremia, okay? We'll talk about that ad nauseum in the long course, but they do need to account for excessive sweating. You need to know what kind of environment are they going to be training in? What kind of environment are they going to be competing in? Okay. And then of course recovery. Okay, that is the big one. Dr. Adams here, he is a big one in recovery. Why? Because I've never worked with an endurance athlete that just stops after they finish and never runs again. Why? Because they want to run something else. They want to run a longer race. Okay. They want to do it again. Okay. So they need to recover. Okay. So there's a lot of emphasis on recovery in my classes and especially in this one. Okay. So that's it for the, that's it for what we're going to talk about for the long course. Now I'm going to give you just a little bit of taste on what we're going to talk about with the ISSN. Okay, so you may have heard about the ISSN. Okay, if not, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. Okay, it is the only nonprofit academic society that is dedicated for promoting the science and application of evidence-based sports and nutrition supplementation. Okay, that means that all the other ones out there aren't dedicated to giving you the best evidence-based research and science. We are the ones that are dedicated to bringing you the best research, okay? We're the world's leader in this field, okay? Our peer-reviewed journal is the leader. Currently we're in 13, but we're moving up, okay? I think maybe we're actually ahead of 13 right now. We're higher than many of the sports journals out there. Okay, it was created by Dr. Jose Antonio. He is a researcher in Florida and the co-founder of the ISSN, along with Dr. Kalman and Dr. Kreider and Dr. Kleiner and Anthony Almeida. These guys got together and realized that there was a need for a sports nutrition society, and the ISSN was born in 2003. I got my certification in 2004 in the second year of the ISSN's existence. So I've been in the ISSN a very long time. Okay. It quickly became the gold standard for global sports nutrition research. So most other certification programs out there and sports nutrition courses, they take all of their data from the ISSN. Okay, we were the ones that started it all. So it's a really good organization to be involved in. So they lead the development and discovery of some of the biggest ingredients, especially in the sports supplement industry. A lot of supplements out there: creatine, theocrine, HMB, beta-alanine, nitrosogene, and many others had their genesis at the research in the ISSN. So when you're going through these ISSN position papers that I really talk about in all of the courses, especially this long course in marathon and endurance, those papers were the ones that started a lot of the sports supplement industry. Okay, since 2003, it's been recognized as the only not-for-profit academic-based society dedicated to sports nutrition. And you can see all these organizations that are partners with the ISSN. And here's a picture of one of my global seminars that I did, one of my global workshops, the Sports Nutrition Specialist course. This was a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity to be a part of if you ever have an opportunity. And again, this is the one that leads into the greater sports specialist course, the CISSN, which is the highest level one of the ISSN. And then here's some of the great students in the global worldwide organization of the ISSN that I had an opportunity to teach in our worldwide organization. And then here's the certification that you will receive. And again, the 5-part program. It's just briefly showing some of the things that you would see in the SNS course. Again, the SNS is the first level that kind of preps you for the CISSN if you choose to go into the deeper, more rigorous training with the ISSN. And some of our many students that we've taught with our many instructors all around the world. And as far as the GPNI, we can be found on Facebook at the GPNI, on facebook.com, and on Instagram at the GPNI. Again, you know, this is a great organization to be a part of. So I look forward to seeing you in the long course very soon. So please sign up today. There are limited spots available. And I want you to download that course when it's available. And I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Okay, hello everybody. Drew here again. I just wanted to, well, firstly, thank you, Dr. Roger, and you always cease to amaze me with your brilliance and amazing teaching. So thank you again, mate, and thank you also for the different time zone. With I'm in morning because I'm in Asia, and you are in Asia Pacific, and you are in Oklahoma. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good. I just wanted to point out with 2021, because it is we are still in the new normal. All of these courses, the first one in the new format will be the Endurance and Marathon Nutrition Coach. However, moving forward, everything will be on-demand content, which is going to be the first time we're doing this. So the format of the course is going to be approximately 80 to 90% of what you view will be on demand. Now, when it's on demand, which we've never done before, you can watch it anytime, anywhere. Before, people sometimes were busy, or they were in a different time zone. Because this is an English language, it doesn't really matter where you are. You could be anywhere in the world, as long as you understand English, and you can log in and watch on demand, 80%. So with Dr. Roger teaching you. And he's all the way in America, so it doesn't matter where you are. You can still get the great teachings and learnings from Dr. Roger on this course. They're all courses in the future also will be in this format. Now, at the end of and this course will be starting February 28th. So that's when we'll be opening the course. And you can sign up before then. The retail price for the course is $429 US for this course. And it's approximately 15 to 18 hours, depending on your own study time and etc. But that's the course. It's not the, it is a certificate, but it's not the certification by the ISSN SNS, which can go up to 30 hours or more. It's not quite as intense, but nonetheless, it is got a lot of information in there, and it is just focused on marathon endurance events. So it's very specialized, and we already have quite a few people pre-signed up already. We haven't even started any marketing, so it's quite amazing. Before we've done any marketing, that we already have quite a few people in the world wanting to sign up. But this is the official introduction video. So it's $429 US is the retail price. That includes everything: the certificate, examination, etc. But if you sign up early, and early bird actually begins now and ends 1 week before the course starts. So it actually, early bird finishes on February 20th. So if you sign up before February 20th, it's $399. And you can contact us privately if you have groups. So if you're signing up with 2 or 3 of your friends, or you're a business, by all means contact us, and there is maybe a small reduction, a special rate for groups. Okay. Now, there's recorded content 80%, but then, so you can talk live with Dr. Roger or one of our other experts in our other courses, we have the live, and that will be using Zoom-like technology, or other technology, depending on where you are in the world, and you can contact and talk live. And in addition, you will actually have to give a presentation, and that presentation is extremely important, so to test your retention of knowledge and give you a chance to really recite and show your skill sets. So that is going to be part of it, and that's the remaining 20%. So again, 80% will be on-demand content, and there will be a remaining 20% approximately that will be live. And that will be, for this course, will be in approximately the first week of April, where Dr. Roger will also be your teacher in regards to that, and we will be able to test your knowledge. Okay, so for any more questions, you can email us. I'll put the email at the bottom of this video. And also you can follow our Instagram and Facebook, which I'll put at the bottom of the video. Also, Dr. Roger, he has a robust Instagram and Facebook, and we'll put that at the end of this video also. So I'll bring on back Dr. Roger in this. But just before I do, again, I want to remind you, this is in English language, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can access as long as English. But if you would like to learn in Chinese, Korean, or Japanese, we also offer that with our partners in these other countries. And you can contact us also about that. And last but not least, if you also are in another country and you would like to have performance nutrition in English or in other language, we work on a partnership program. So any business owners or people who would like to offer these type of courses in your neighborhood, please contact us, and the email will be at the bottom of the video. Thank you, everyone. And Dr. Roger, I will get you back onto the screen. Here we go.
Thanks everyone for your time. I look forward to seeing you in the long course. Again, this is a fantastic course, and I look forward to everyone being a part of it. And you will learn a lot, and you'll get out there and you'll run the best marathon of your lives, and you'll be the best marathon coaches in the world. So I look forward to being a part of this. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.